Alright, so we're ready to get in and define the things we need in the code to make this work. The thing to this part will take a little bit to develop on your own, but I just kind of want to talk through the what are the things that we need at this point. So there's we have a question label, an answer label, and those need to have text put in them somewhere. So actually what we need is a pointer to both of these labels so that we can set the text. So that's a couple things we'll need. We need the array to store the questions in, we need an array to store the answers in, and we need some kind of counter to keep track of which question are we on now. So that's basically, there's 5 things that we're going to need. And then there's for each of the buttons we need some kind of function or method that we can call when that button gets pushed. So what we're going to do is go to the quiz ViewController.h file. This is the interface for quiz ViewController. Interfaces kind of defines what it's supposed to, like what parts it's supposed to have, and what it should be able to do. The implementation file, the .m file, will have the specifics of what's going to happen there. So for the interface at this point looks like this, and what we're going to do is right in here in between the @interface and @in, we need to add a pair of curly braces, and then I'm just going to start defining things. We need I'm going to use an integer to keep track of what question are we on. So I'm going to define that as int current question index. The typical pattern in Objective-C instance names is you start with a lowercase letter, and then instead of putting, you can't put spaces in names, but instead of putting like underscores or things like that, you just capitalize the first letter of each additional word and just sort of squish the whole thing together. It's a method called camel casing, because there's humps in the middle. Don't forget the semicolon at the end. So then we're going to define the model objects. So that these are arrays, and this is going to look kind of crazy, but the type here is ns mutable array. Mutable in programming terms means it's something you can change. A regular ns array you can't modify. It's a little bit trickier to work with. So we're going to have a ns mutable array, and this is actually a pointer, and that one's going to be called questions. If you didn't do the chapter 8 sort of introductory chapter on pointers, you might want to look through that one, or refresh your memory. The pointer part ends up being, as you're going to see, used a lot here. So like I said, we need 2 of these, one for questions, one for answers, and then we need the 2 pointers to the text labels. This has a kind of strange look to it. It's declared as something called an IB outlet. IB is short for Interface Builder, which is what the program you use to define the interface used to be called. It used to be a separate program. Now it's all in Xcode as just a separate window. And this is a label. It's a UI label. And we're going to call that question field. And again, like I see, 4 of the 5 things we're going to define here are pointers. When you use the asterisk and when you don't will is something you will eventually get used to. Careful with your spelling. It's easy to have something with an extra capitalization. So we have the question field and the answer field. Connection back to that we'll be able to link those. Basically anything that where you're trying to link from the code into your interface XIB file, you will use if it's a data connection, you will use this IB outlet. If it's like a button press kind of thing, that's a thing called an IB action. And we'll see a couple of those in just a minute. So that's the this is the sort of information we're going to use to set up our view controller. These are all the instance variables we're going to use. We also, like I said, we need a couple of methods here, and method declarations go in a little bit of a strange spot. It's after the curly brace but before the end. And the syntax for this is there's a dash, which is the one next to the 0 key, and then parentheses, and then the type. So this is an IB action, and I'm going to call this first one show question, and then it's got this odd thing at the end here. Basically anything that's a button is going to look like this. That it's this here's the return type for the method, the method name, and then this extra parameter. It's kind of some stuff going on there that we'll probably come back to later. But basically, anytime you define a method that's going to run off of a button, it's going to look like this. And we also need a show answer. That has the same setup. Okay, so that's basically all we need for setting up the interface. The next part we need to do is there's some we'll need to actually connect these pieces. Connect the text outlets and connect the button actions in the nib interface part.